During the arrow selection process, specifically for bow hunters, one of the trends right now in the industry is to go to a slim diameter shaft with an outsert as opposed to an insert. The standard that we've had for a number of years is a standard shaft with an insert, and there have been many advances in the inserts to whether they have a small portion that comes out of the end of the shaft, or if it's completely hidden like the Eastons do. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this. They've been working for a number of years, but what bow hunters are always looking for is not just an increase in accuracy, but also an increase in penetration for the broadheads. So when you're hunting larger animals, if you're going to Africa or if you're hunting elk, moose, things that are a lot larger, you really need to focus on being able to penetrate that broadhead as deep as you can into the vitals. And one of the industry trends right now is going to a thinner diameter shaft with a tapered outsert. And what this does is it helps you to punch a standard or larger sized hole on the initial penetration. And with that slimmer shaft, you're reducing the amount of friction so you get more penetration. We're going to be doing some videos later on that are going to be focusing on penetration tests to prove or disprove the theory behind these. I've done some initial testing, and I am actually a very big fan of the tapered outsert. There have been some issues with them when they first came out, but Deer Crossing Archery just came out with, these are the SD Hunters, and I personally have some, and one of the Addicts Nation Pro staffers, Declan, just ordered a dozen, and what we're doing is we're setting these up today for him. One of the things that I wanted to show you was there's the standard when these are shipped is you'll get your shaft fletched and cut to whatever length you're looking for. So from a standard standpoint, all you really need to do is glue these on and you're ready to go. If you want to take the next step in building your accuracy, one of the things that I do that I think is paramount, it helps you with your broadhead tuning and also your accuracy a little bit, is squaring the ends of your arrow or the carbon in order for that outsert and your nock to sit flush so that you get better spin out of your arrow. So that's what we're going to be doing today. The standard process for this is very easy. When these are cut at the factory, they're cut just about as close to perfect as you can get. Some companies focus a little bit more on cutting them as flush as possible than others. Deer Crossing seems to do a very, very good job, but if you want to take it just to the next level for accuracy, this is what I do, this is what our pro staffers do. This is an extra step you can do that takes very little time, but I think when it comes to broadhead tuning, this will actually help you quite a bit to get better flight out of your arrows for the hunter. So in a standard installation process, all you're going to do is take a little bit of glue and put on the end of the shaft, and then you're going to thread your outsert on and make sure that it's as flush as you can get it. A couple of slight turns into that outsert while the glue dries, and you're good to go. When you do that, we'll show this after I'm done with this arrow. With a standard installation, there's the possibility of getting just the slightest bit of wobble on that outsert. While it's not a huge issue, if you're really looking to get the best accuracy that you can out of these arrows, it pays to take a couple of extra minutes to do this process that we're going to do right now, which is squaring the ends of the arrow. In order to do this, you'll have to take the knock out, which a lot of people don't like to do. But I'll take out the knock, take off the outsert away, and both ends I'll take just a silver Sharpie, because carbon's black, silver stands out better. And all I'm going to do is paint the end of the arrow. So the flat portion where they've been cut. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use an arrow squaring device or fast tool, depending on which one you buy. I've got two of them here. This one's made by G5. This one is made by Luminoc. It's called a fast tool. Both of them do the same thing. They just do them a little differently. The fast tool, which is the one I use for all of my all carbon arrows, basically it's just a cradle, and it has a small piece of sandpaper on here, and it'll sit your arrow in it so that you can lightly sand both ends to get consistent. The G5, same thing, has a cradle cut in here. The difference is the head on the G5 has two different ends to it that can be used. One of them has a raised notch on it, and this is used for aluminum arrows or aluminum inserts, if you're squaring the face of your aluminum inserts. And the other one is just a very rough metal that's just like sandpaper that's used for all carbon. So I'm going to use the one by Luminoc, the fast tool, just because it's easier for me. Again, we've got the ends painted, the Sharpie's dried. All you're going to do is you're going to take this shaft and you're going to set it in the cradle, and you're going to push it up against that piece of sandpaper. And with even pressure on the shaft, you're just going to keep it level and give it a few turns against the sandpaper. Give it 5 or 6 turns, take it off, and take a look. And when you look at it, and I'll give you guys a close-up of this a little bit later, half of it is black and half of it's silver, which means we have the black part is still high, the silver part is still low, so it's not a flush surface yet. So you just put it back in the cradle, give her a few more turns, take it off, take a look, and now I'm getting a lot closer, but there's still silver on it. So with this process, the closer it is to flush, obviously, the less you're going to have to do this. If it's not a very flush cut, then you can spend a couple of minutes on each end. Getting it flush. So I've got the majority of that is off. I'm going to give it 1 or 2 more turns. And now there's no silver left on the end of that arrow, which means it's perfectly flush. Now, most people, when they get into this process, they only do the outsert or insert end of the arrow. And that's fine, but I like to do both ends. That way I know that my knock is also getting a flush contact with the back of the arrow, so you're not getting any force being pushed off one direction or the other. So same thing, put it in the cradle, put a little pressure to it, give her a few spins. Also, when you're doing this, make sure that you're not adding too much pressure to the center of this arrow, because if you end up flexing it too much, then you're not going to get a consistent sanding on the end of the arrow. So there we go. That one didn't take quite as much. It took a few turns, and now it's good to go. Okay, so now that we have everything cleaned, nocks, the installation, all you gotta do is slide that thing in there. Make sure you get it flush, and then index it. And all indexing is, if you shoot off of your bow with the cock vane straight up, then you want to make sure that your nock is set so that when it's on the string, it's straight up. Easy. Right there, bada boom, bada bing. You can make any of the minor adjustments when you actually get the arrow on the bow for the first time. Put it on so that it's on the string, make sure that it's level, or with some of these high-speed bows these days, with cables being a little bit closer, sometimes you need to actually index it a little bit so that the vanes don't hit those cables, depending on what brand of bow you're shooting. So the Outsert, real easy. There's a number of different glues out there. There's a number of different companies that are going to tell you need to use insert iron, you need to use whatever. I have done a million of these arrows, and I can tell you, yes, some of the epoxies, 5-minute epoxies, they hold really well. That's great. It isn't absolutely necessary. My favorite to use is Loctite's gel-controlled super glue. So Declan just brought over this brand new tube of glue. So all you got to do, always test fit your Outsert first. Just slide it on, make sure that it goes all the way down. Some of the companies out there right now, they don't make their shafts and Outserts spine specific. Deer Crossing does, so test them first. Some of them you may have to sand the end of your shaft a little bit in order to get them to fit. It's one of the nice things about Deer Crossing is you don't have to do that. So just take a small dab of glue, put it on the end of your shaft, take your Outsert, slide it in there, spin it around a couple of times while this is drying. Take your rag and wipe off the excess. And there it is. It's done. Give this, a couple of minutes to set up. They'll tell you, some places tell you need to wait 24 hours. If you're using some of the epoxies you do with the super glue, 10 minutes from now this thing's going to be as strong as it'll ever be. So that's it. So what we have here is a trued arrow. Your accuracy is going to be a little bit better, and hopefully the broadhead tuning will go a little bit easier also.